What's going on, Workforce? Brian and Chris here, and today, coming off of a weekend's worth of rest, off the Live Letter 66, which you, if you haven't been subscribed to our channels, have seen all the content roll out for you guys this weekend. We are sitting here talking about basically who won, what job took the show for us over the course of the weekend. Chris, floor's yours, man. How was your weekend? How are you feeling a couple days out of the Live Letter?
I'm feeling good. I capped my Summoner and Scholar over the weekend. Got Astro up to 71. So home stretch on the last of the healers. It was really fun to hang out in a lot more streams, watch a lot of reaction content from other people to the event. That's why I try to put a lot of reaction content out, is because I don't watch my own reaction content. I put it out there because it's don't be the guy that goes and sees other Christmas lights and adores that and then doesn't put Christmas lights on their own house.
Yeah.
I have time and I want to watch things. I should film my reaction because that's the kind of content I'm out there consuming. I'm out there consuming a ton of other people's reactions to this. I'm excited. I think Bard and Scholar, I still have questions because it does seem like Bard and Scholar will also be an Endwalker. Yeah. And then that that was it. Next job. And I do wonder if Scholar, they were not elaborating as much on how it will be affected by the big healer changes because they also looked tired. There's 3.5 hours into the first section of a 3-part presentation.
Yeah.
I think that they wanted the whole presentation to come in at 4 hours, not 6.5. So Scholar looked like we do have some things changing with Scholar, but Sage, and then we just pivoted. We just kept moving. As opposed to Bard was hey, we have pretty orthodox changes so far among this role. The Fizz ranged is the role that they are still actively developing on. So it would not be shocking to see some changes there.
Yeah.
Keeping in mind he was on the Media Tour server, and the Media Tour server, if it's anything like the last Media Tour was an April build that we played in June for a game releasing in July, which means not only could there be changes since that build, but the Media Tour, when that information lifts, and the Amy said that there was 100 and some 12, that's the exact phrasing, 100 and some 12 creators that would be invited to the Media Tour.
Nice.
I don't remember ever counting to 100 and some 12, so I don't know where that fits as a number.
Yeah.
But it's a large number. So I imagine some tooltips will be shared. When those tooltips get shared, those will be out of date, possibly from the moment people see them. They could have, it's they saw those and then made an update. No, there could already be updates on the current build before we ever even see those. So I hope that Bard is still kind of getting some love. But I think the big winner is Summoner.
Yes, I 100% agree. And in fact, actually, that's one of the things that
some dozens. They corrected me. 100 and some dozens.
100 and some dozens.
Some number that I don't know how to count to.
So I put out this poll over on Ginger Prime because I was very generally curious, because essentially I was, how did the roles do, right? I've seen a lot of people kind of put it out specific jobs, picking random jobs, which essentially I think when you focus it down, Paladin, Summoner, Reaper, Sage, Monk, I think a lot of these are probably some real clear visual winners, especially with the changes. That's one of the things that obviously the more attention, more changes will have the most bigger and type reactions. But I want to focus this on the various roles, right? Healers, tanks, melee, ranged, and caster. And I think from this poll alone, I would say Summoner is probably the clear winner when it comes down to the job changes. I think what I've seen on Twitter, on a Reddit, with communication with other people, in our Discord, is that we're finally getting a Summoner. Summoner was always in this weird spot, especially within Shadowbringers. I didn't feel like I knew what they were trying to make it do. Now I'm just yes, I am really excited for that. And then following it up within the melee category, I think obviously Reaper and Monk having a big showing at the Live Letter. People were really excited. I've seen people say they're not so excited about the Monk changes. I think with all of these changes, guys, we got to just go hands on.
I don't know. They look good.
They look
really
good. Ninja looks really fun. I like how mobile it ends up being. So I think essentially when you were looking at Black Mage, Red Mage, and Summoner, they're coming off really strong, especially for a category not getting an additional job. What I'm shocked by is how low healers was represented. Sage being, I think, the clear excitement. White Mage doesn't seem like they're like, yeah, it's per perfection. And Scholar, just the memes that I've seen on that job. Like, all right, we're just gonna, it's here, it exists.
Scholar will also heal people.
Yeah. And the thing that I posted a video because we've seen people start to translate the tooltips and things like that. So I posted a video on Sage Reapers out there right now. Let me know if you guys want me to dive into the translated Reaper tooltips. The risk is that all of this is subject to change. Like, this is just information for today and maybe for the next couple of weeks, and then it could, so there's nothing to get overly excited about. Yeah, sometime October.
From a company that will call fall anything from like June to November 30th. So like
fall technically goes to December 20th.
Does mid-October even fall in October?
Yeah.
it's from the person who gave us mid-October was Foxconn, who prior to making that statement said, "Do not take anything I say in English seriously."
Yes. So we'll see what happens, guys. We'll let you know as soon as we know. But I think essentially for me, the takeaway, obviously, if anybody saw my reaction, I think a lot of people I saw in chat saying that my reaction to the summoner reveal brightened their weekend. So I'm so thrilled that you're thrilled that I'm still on cloud 9. Good. By what we've seen with Summoner, but I don't think this is going to change my plan. I think when we look at my plan, I still plan on hitting Sage and Reaper to level 80, taking Reaper through the story, finishing Sage, and then absolutely got to go to Summoner. But I think when we look at just the numbers alone, this was a really powerful showing. This was a really excellent set of adjustments that we saw with the jobs themselves. But I just thought this poll was interesting. I was going to want to see if there's anything that stood out to you, anything shocking. The lowest being ranged in this case. I guess they're still working on it. What do you think, Chris?
I mean, it seemed like they were like, we're going to make machinist be machinist and dancer be dancer, and we're really happy where they all are. And Bard's like, are we?
Yeah.
Are we happy where we are? They're like, yeah, I think so. And so even in the screenshots they showed of the art, the Bard was like, huh? And they're like, yeah, orthodox changes across the board. Nobody needs any updates.
Huh?
Are you sure?
Come again.
Okay. I will say, like, as good as Summoner looks, the amount of utility coming out of Red Mage, the amount of boom coming out of Black Mage, Summoner will be played a ton early on.
Yeah.
I don't know if Summoner gets to be as popular in like Savage progression come 6.5. Like, once that hype wears off, it's competing for a tough slot between Dancer and Red Mage and Black Mage. It's not real obvious which two you bring.
It seems to be slotting between the Black Mage and the Red Mage, right? Because it's got some mobility. The question is going to be now with the summons and how that impacts, because some of your skills are instacast when based off the summon you choose. Some have a charge time, right? So meaning like, well, skill speed isn't really going to, spell speed isn't really going to be the biggest thing that you probably want to take. I think one of the things or the theories that I've seen people have that is the most fascinating is we've only seen 3 of the original primals. Like, we don't have Leviathan, Ramu, or Shiva in this regard, and somebody was theorizing that on the back end we didn't see them summon the back end summons. I still think from the color scheme that they are the 3 original, but it makes me hopeful for a future, kind of like you almost had with the Mage Tower and WoW.
Freaking Summoner, man!
Where you just have the ability to go and quest out various glamour forms for your summons. And we are.
It's just you guys get a new job every expansion, and it's never enough. You haven't even gotten to play this one, and they're like, well, what about Leviathan?
Yeah.
There are people out there who just didn't get changes to their job.
Yeah.
They're like, there's going to be 1 or 2 new abilities.
Yeah.
And Summoner's like, I'm only getting 3 summons that literally didn't exist before.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, Summoners are the worst.
So the other theory, because I've seen people upset that Summoner's losing its dots, right? So honestly for me, I think the fact that Summoner is losing its dots opens up the role for a future dot style damage, a damage mage in the future in that regard. So honestly, the fact that Summoner really just had the Try Disaster and they didn't know what it was really kind of doing, and then you kind of like occasionally I might cast one spell just to kind of cover this weird timing gap. Like, Summoner was, I think, in a bad state throughout all of Shadowbringers. So having this work being done is great. I think it also sets up the role itself for future adjustments, because now we know that they're not afraid of going beyond 4 jobs in a role. And so we've, if you count Blue Mage as a part of this, this category, we might see something in the future where it is focusing in around the kind of a dot damage over time, caster, because it doesn't feel like it has to compete with what is Black Mage, what is Red Mage, what is Summoner. And I honestly I couldn't be happier. But now I'm just like excited to see how it feels and plays hands on. Your line was perfection. Congrats on your 21-minute opener.
So it seems like everybody's getting new closers. We're getting rewards for completing combos.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're not running an Abacus, this is a good way of tracking how you're doing on your rotation performance. And so I think in general, it seems like everybody's getting a gap closer or more charges on their gap closers. So it seems like, and ranged attacks don't break melee combos anymore.
Right.
So what it now seems like is we're giving you less excuses. You have gap closers. Get out of it to just get out of it. So you have easier ways to keep your combos up, and you have less ways to break them, and you have bigger rewards for doing it. So it seems like in general, these changes are moving us towards maybe being better at playing Final Fantasy XIV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because one of my big complaints across Shadowbringers is to all these people that know how to play really well, they're like, oh, the extremes aren't that bad. These savages are really fun. Great. How do we help all these new players who are asking basic questions, right? Who don't even have limit break on their bar and things like that. They're not wildly knowledgeable because they're new. And so how does the game reinforce these habits? So I will say the changes across the board look like they are helping us get better at playing our classes. For Warrior, for example, what are you really doing between an inner release window? There's a ton of options, but it doesn't feel good. The inner release is all that feels good. So it looks like they're shortening our inner release window and they're making it more often. I don't know if total uptime on inner release is going to be the exact same freaking thing. Mm-hmm. It could be the exact same window per 5 minutes. But they're saying you're going to be in it more often, and you'll be able to use these gap closes and things like that. So you're not breaking your combos. Let's get you burning some gauge. So I think a lot of jobs aren't going to look like big winners from just these animations.
Right.
They're going to feel better but familiar, which seemed to be the theme. We want to take what you like about this and we want to make it feel better, but we're not looking to pull the sheet out from under you. This needs to feel familiar, while also feeling, like the dancer comments was basically, we just want the controller portion, your keyboard or mouse or your controller. We just want there to be less between you and the job. It seemed like, the job's been doing its thing well, you've been doing your thing well, and you've been aware that you're playing a video game. Let's remove some of that barrier. Mm-hmm. Let's get you straight to the essence of the job. And that seems to be the general trend. So after Summoner, I would say quality of life has been improved for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the scholar memes are that they're going to be good for speed runs, but it seems like everybody
just had better. The worst showing though, because it's like you can't feel that in battle Peloton until you feel it, and then when you do, I think it's going to end up helping out, obviously, in some very tough situations with all the movement skills, like the fact that Sage is getting Icarus, being able to kind of gap close. We're seeing a lot more ability to kind of move around with the different jobs. That I'm just in here going I wonder if that's going to be indicative of some of the design content of. Yeah, you really want that scholar because there's no way people are going to be able to sprint from one end to the other, or you really want to make sure everybody's got their gap closers set up, because even Monk can get one of the things with the gap closing is that it's not just to bad guys. It's literally to anybody.
There are people who are like, I'm bummed I'm losing shoulder tackle, but you're not. You replaced it with something that does more.
Yeah,
it does more now, and it couldn't be called shoulder tackle. It couldn't remain the same ability because it would be weird if you were shoulder tackling your allies. So they had to swap the name. I think there's also going to be a fair bit of frustration up until we see the content. This amount of mobility makes me wonder: are we going to see more Delibram style, get out of the bad content?
Yeah,
because now there are less jobs that have an excuse. Does that battle Peloton have a defensive component? Does it have a anti-knockback component, right? When I pop inner release, people think about inner release as Felcley spam. Inner release also mitigates knockbacks just like arm's length. It just usually most of your inner release windows, you're not using it for that reason.
Right.
But it does the same thing. So, could there be other parts to that tooltip? I haven't seen it. Maybe that tooltip was one of the ones people grabbed. I haven't seen any of the translated tooltips. But I know that there's no way they've seen every tooltip. So there's going to be a lot of abilities out there to come and they said intentionally they didn't want to reveal all the tooltips because they did want to save things for the media tour. And then we have another live letter addressing hand, land, PvP, and more system changes.
Yes, there's more to come. Endwalker it's crazy. We're less than 2 months away. This weekend was like a Cloud9 experience. Like I can't express how excited I am to go hands-on with these changes. So I'm very much looking forward to the 19th of November. And when we can sit here, and I think it's going to be hard. I'm going to have to be disciplined. I'm going to have to be disciplined so that way I sit down and say, yes, I'm going to stick with the plan of Sage and Reaper.
Okay.
And then I'm going to come back to Summoner. And then I'll start opening it up to polls so people can start to vote in on what roles they want me to focus in on and get those controller guides. I've seen a lot of comments.
That's still the plan. You're sticking to the plan.
So
a lot of people changed their plans this weekend. I saw videos go out saying they're dropping their mains. I see lots of movement. I'm sticking with the plan, man. With the plan. Usually the new jobs that have been introduced every expansion are the last jobs I put out guides on. And I think this year, this expansion will do something different. I'll focus on Sage and Reaper, and then we'll go to Summoner. And I should, in theory, have Scholar around the same time. So we'll just have to wait and see. So. If you could get all the tooltips from any one job outside of Summoner, what would it be? If they would tweet out all the tooltips from one job just based off Brian, what job would you want them to tweet out?
Okay, so all the tooltips, non-Summoner.
Yep.
Black Mage.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the one that rotationally you're like, I don't know enough and I want to know more.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm really excited to see how Black Mage plays. It's the caster in me, hands down. Like everything else felt very like, yeah, we got this, right? Like I'm excited for Reaper, but if you show me Black Mage now, I'd be really thrilled to see what that looks like, because that'd be fun just to sit here and try to theory craft what the rotations are. The risk being is that all of it's subject to change. So if you guys see anything, don't bank all your hopes. I'm just not looking forward to the Reddit threads of they adjusted this potency by 10 points and now it's garbage. So hopefully everybody has a good level head about them. Chris, why don't you take us out, man?
I'm still going to be playing a warrior, so all this was just hype, but the best class is still the best class, and there's no reason to disagree with me, so why'd you even watch this? We'll see you guys next time.
Take care.